Buying a home together is supposed to be exciting, right? A dream come true. But if you've ever done it with your spouse or partner, you know it can feel more like jury duty than a honeymoon. Money is the #1 thing couples argue about, and home buying puts that stress under a microscope. The National Endowment for Financial Education found that 43% of married couples say they fought about major purchases, and a home is the biggest of all. Here's something most people don't realize. Buying a home together is considered one of the top 5 most stressful life events, right up there with getting married, having a baby, and changing careers. A survey by Homes.com found that almost 60% of couples said they argued more during house hunting than at any other time in their relationship. In fact, a 2023 survey by LendingTree found out that 1 in 4 divorced homeowners said disagreements over buying or owning a home contributed to their breakup. And more than 1 in 3 said the experience tested their relationship. Zillow did a study showing that the average home shopper views more than 70 homes online and about 10 to 15 homes in person before they buy. That's a lot of decisions, and decision fatigue is real. After the 5th or 6th house, people stop noticing the details and start snapping at each other. It's not that you can't agree, it's that you're both mentally exhausted. There is so much to negotiate. Realtor.com found that nearly 50% of home buyers say they have a completely different style from their partner. You want a modern open concept kitchen, they want a cozy traditional layout. You're thinking pool and barbecue in Scottsdale, they're thinking low maintenance condo near downtown Phoenix. I get it. I've worked with dozens of couples right here in the Valley who came in ready to buy a home and nearly walked away ready to buy a boxing ring instead. So if you and your partner are stressing out, you're not broken, you're actually pretty normal. This is hard, and it's okay to admit that. The good news? There are real, therapist-backed strategies that can help you compromise without killing each other. Today, we're going to walk through 6 of them, and I'll give you real-world Arizona examples so you can see exactly how they play out. One of the biggest mistakes couples make is keeping quiet when something bothers them. Resentment builds faster than weeds in an Arizona summer. Instead, get those feelings out early. If you walk into a house and hate it, don't just say, it's not for me. Say, I don't like how far this is from work, or the backyard feels too small for the kids. Being specific gives your partner something to work with and prevents a blow up later. I've seen couples save themselves a lot of stress by just putting frustrations on the table before they turn into fights. For example, I once had a couple touring homes in Gilbert. He hated that every house felt too far from his office. He never said a word, just kept smiling and nodding. Then, 3 weeks later, boom, argument in the driveway. Why? Because he never admitted the commute was a deal breaker. Had he spoken up early, we wouldn't have even been looking in that neighborhood. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever kept quiet to avoid conflict and keep the peace, only to have it blow up later? If so, you know exactly how important this tip can be. When you argue about a house, don't just say, I don't like it. Drill down to the exact reason. Maybe one of you doesn't like small bedrooms. Maybe the commute feels too long. Maybe it's about the school district. When you identify the actual point of disagreement, you turn vague frustration into a solvable problem. For example, if the bedrooms are too small, maybe we find a similar home with an extra 200 square feet. If the commute is too long, maybe we look for the same floor plan, but in a different neighborhood. Getting specific keeps the conversation productive instead of emotional. I was working with a couple who had opposite work schedules. We'll call them Mitch and Sarah. Their schedules were such that I would have to often show them properties separately, not the optimal house hunting scenario. I noticed Sarah would measure the longest wall in each bedroom, then shake her head. I would ask her what she was checking for, and she would always say, just seeing how much room I have. After measuring, she would invariably find something about the house that made it a no-go. On the other hand, Mitch seemed pretty easy to please. Of the 20 houses we looked at least half would have worked for him. So what was the problem? Turns out Sarah had a special piece of furniture that her mom had left her. It was a giant carved piece of bedroom furniture, and her deal breaker was that the new house had to have a bedroom wall space long enough for this piece of furniture to rest comfortably against it. She was a little bit embarrassed, but totally resolute and committed to having a place for this piece of furniture. The problem was that with their budget, they couldn't afford the square footage that bedroom piece needed. I know that sounds weird, but there were no houses with a 12-foot by 15-foot bedroom available under $325,000 in North Phoenix. Yes, They are still renting to this day to be close to that piece of furniture. If they had started the search with that non-negotiable in play, they may have been able to make adjustments or negotiate their way into a sale. But by the time they got through 20 showings and 20 arguments, they were done. Here's a fun one. Make a 4-tiered wish list together. Start with your must-haves, things you can't live without, like 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, or a backyard big enough for Scruffy. Then add nice-to-haves, things you'd love, like a pool, granite countertops, or a 3-car garage. Next, identify your flexibles, things you'd compromise on if the rest of the house feels right. Finally, list your deal breakers, the things you absolutely will not accept, like being too far from work or in the wrong school district. Once you put all this down on paper, the overlap between your lists becomes obvious. It's like drafting a fantasy football team, but with kitchens, schools, and backyards instead. And it really works. For example, I had a couple in Phoenix where the wife's must-have was a pool and the husband's must-have was a home office. Guess what? We found a house in Chandler that had both, plus it fell right under their budget. Without the list, they might have kept fighting and looking and fighting and looking instead of finding the perfect match. Here's a quick exercise. Grab a pen and paper, and while you're watching, start writing your own 4-tiered list. Must-haves, nice-to-haves, flexibles, and deal breakers. You'll be amazed how quickly disagreements fade once the list is on paper. Instead of just walking through a house and admiring the finishes, picture yourself actually living there. Where do you make coffee in the morning? Where do the kids do their homework? Where do you guys sit down to dinner? This exercise helps you decide if a house feels like a home. In Scottsdale, you might imagine entertaining on the patio. In Chandler, it might be family bike rides in the subdivision. Both are valid. You just have to see it. I often tell clients, if you can't picture your Saturday morning routine here, you'll never feel comfortable long term. So close your eyes and imagine it. This alone has ended plenty of arguments. Here's where reality hits, the budget. But the budget isn't just the purchase price, it's also property taxes, utilities, HOA fees, and maintenance. Sometimes the cheaper house costs more in the long run. I've seen clients get stuck on the sticker price when in reality, the higher priced home was actually more affordable month to month. So take the full picture into account. Looking at a total cost can reframe arguments about price and turn a too expensive home into the smarter choice. For example, a couple looking in Chandler wanted the cheaper home, but taxes plus HOA plus the AC repairs actually made it cost $350 more per month than the higher priced home in Scottsdale. Guess which one they chose? The one that actually fit their lifestyle long term. Here's the takeaway. Don't ask what the price is, ask what's the real monthly cost. In Phoenix, where energy bills spike in the summer, this tip alone can save couples from endless fights. Finally, remember the long game. Not every house is perfect right now. Maybe it's in the right neighborhood, has perfect bones, and just needs a kitchen update down the road. This question isn't always, do we love it today? A better question is, can this become the home we both love in the future? For example, a couple in Glendale nearly passed on a home because of the dated kitchen, but it had everything else. The school they wanted, perfect location for them, big yard, and those 3 items are the things you can't change. A kitchen can be changed. 2 years later, they renovated. Now it's their dream home. They got the location they wanted, the school district, and the big yard. And yes, their dream kitchen to boot. If they'd walked away, they'd still be renting. So there you have it. 6 therapist-backed strategies to help couples survive and even thrive during the home buying process. Talk early, get specific, make your lists, imagine your life, reframe the budget, and always keep the long term in mind. At the end of the day, you're not just buying a house, you're building a future together. And if you're house hunting here in Phoenix or Scottsdale and you want a neutral mediator who's been through this with plenty of couples, give me a call. Tammy and I have been helping our clients buy homes all across the Phoenix metro area for the last 16 years, and we can help you find a home that works for both of you. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notified when we post a new video. See you in the next video.